Alright guys, so I got a really creepy story to tell you before I get into the review. Went to go print out the poster for this movie review, as I normally do for all my reviews. The first time I tried to print it out, it really didn't look right, so I tried it a second time, and this is what happened. Is it coincidental that I'm reviewing a horror movie and this is what happens? Look at that. It's freaking demonic. What does this mean? This is... it scares me. Hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here. No guys, there's nothing creepy going on with my computer or in my life. It's my printer ran out of ink, and I'm sorry I didn't reprint the poster a third time, but I didn't really want to, so I'm just sticking with this one. But I thought that was kind of funny, you know, I'm reviewing a horror movie and look what happens. The poster comes out looking like this, like the two kids on it are little demon babies. Anyway, guys, so yeah, my review today will be for the new horror flick, Oculus. Came out last week on Friday, and I didn't get a chance to see it because I had to catch up on watching Noah. So I finally got a chance to see it today, this Friday. And I really didn't have too many expectations for this movie. I honestly didn't expect anything at all going into it, because as soon as I walked into it and I sat down and the movie started, I'm like, I don't remember watching the trailer for this. And I didn't. I never watched the trailer for the movie going into it. I think the only two reasons why I went to go see the movie today was because I went with family, they wanted to see it, and the movie had a decent score on Rotten Tomatoes. So in the end, that's all I knew about this movie, and the fact that Katie Sackhoff was in it, and I like Katie Sackhoff. But, yeah, so, and, you know, it kind of intrigued me that this movie had good scores on Rotten Tomatoes because it's a horror movie, and when do modern horror films get praised by critics? Never. Very rarely. So, that's why I went to go see the movie today, and in the end, what can I say? This movie didn't wow me. Like I said, I wasn't expecting much, and in the end, it wasn't that great. It was okay. It had its share of flaws, but I didn't hate the movie. A lot of people are saying, oh, this movie could be, you know, set up for several sequels, and I see that happening, even though I think they need to improve the sequels. I think this movie was fine. It had problems, but if they're going to think about making sequels, they need to improve a couple of things, which I'll get into later on in my review. As of right now, guys, and just grin and bear at the poster, I'm going to give you a, you know, basic premise. I'm going to explain the premise without spoiling anything. Real quick, the movie does take place during two, you know, separate times. The movie is set in the past and in the present day, 11 years from the past, and it flips between present and flashback. So you'll have an ongoing scene in the movie, and then boom, you'll have a flashback about a scene later or something like that. And then towards like the middle of the movie, they just shoot you with a flashback, then a scene from the present. Flashback, scene from the present, and then they go back and forward like that. But anyway, in the past storyline of this movie, there was this family that purchases this mirror. They move into a new home. They purchase this mirror. This is a horror movie about a supernatural mirror, if that makes any sense. And this family is, you know, attacked by this supernatural mirror. You know, the two parents are, and these kids have a very traumatic experience. It's a brother and a sister, and they have a very traumatic experience as children. One of the siblings, the boy, is sent to a mental facility to recover, and the girl is, like, you know, sent to live with someone else, I guess. So the movie then skips forward to the present. It's 11 years later, and the brother and sister want to put an end to this mirror and prove that it's been the cause of all the, you know, traumatic things that have been happening and the cause of a lot of deaths and everything. So that is basically the premise of Oculus, and I tried to explain as best as I could. Because one, I don't want to spoil anything, and two, the movie is kind of all over the place. Like, I explained it in chronological order. The movie does not go in chronological order as it progresses, as it goes on. Like I said, they have a scene from the past, and then in the beginning, then it cuts forward to the present, and then, I don't know, maybe about 10 minutes later, it's going to cut forward back to the past, and then back to the present, and then by the end of the movie, like, every other scene is either a scene from the past or the present of these kids' lives, of these people's lives. So the editing gets very scrambled and very confusing, by the end of the movie, because you have a scene from the past going on, and then boom, you flip right forward to the present and what's going on in that storyline, as both storylines are progressing. And so in the end, that things do get a little conflicted. You do feel that the story gets a little convoluted for that reason. I think that was really the editing, the fault of the editor, who also directed the movie. But anyway, I'll get more into my problems with that later on. The thing I do have to say about Oculus, though, that pretty much impressed me, is that the premise was actually, nothing cliched or nothing, unoriginal or anything like that. Like, it felt like this movie was trying to be its own movie, its own horror film, and it was. Have we ever seen anything involving a possessed, supernatural mirror that, causes you to fall in a trance and become completely lost in what the mirror makes you do or whatever, basically like a possession. So we've never seen anything like that before in another movie, so I gotta praise this movie for trying to be different, because it does feel original in its own way, even though it just completely misfired around the second half of the movie. But anyway, that's all I really want to say right now for the premise. What I do want to briefly get into the cast, I'm really not even going to discuss the cast that much. This isn't really an actor's movie. The acting is fine, but there's really no well-known actors in this movie, except for the only actress who I knew in the movie, and that's Katie Sackhoff. She plays the kid's mother in the movie, and I thought she was good. Gave a decent performance in her scenes. I've liked Katie Sackhoff from a few older movies I've seen. Very attractive woman, and she's made several appearances with the Schmoes Know on their podcasts and everything. So yeah, that's how I know Katie Sackhoff. But yeah, I guess it was nice to see her. But everyone else in the movie, I had no clue who they were. The father in the movie's from Argo, but other than that, I didn't know anyone else in this movie. So I'm really not going to talk about the cast. The acting overall was fine for this type of movie. I would say there was maybe about, a few scenes with one character in particular. The acting felt off. The older boy in the movie, when he's all grown up, he plays the actor playing the 21-year-old kid in the movie. The acting felt a little off for him in a few scenes. I don't even know their names, and I didn't look them up. But other than that, the acting was overall fine. One thing I do want to quickly get into is this movie's rating. The movie's rated R, excuse me. And I was shocked. I went into the theater and I got my ticket, and my ticket said that it was rated R. I was shocked. I actually thought it was rated PG-13 going into it. And then after seeing the movie, I was surprised that they gave this movie an R rating. I really don't understand why. I think they honestly could have gotten away with a PG-13 rating. I don't think this movie was scary, bloody, or creepy enough to be given an R rating, honestly. There really wasn't that much bad language from what I recall, and there wasn't even any nudity or anything like that, so I don't know why they went with a R rating. I honestly don't. If it was for scares, I don't know. But if it was for scares, that makes no sense, because this movie is honestly completely devoid of scares. And since it's a horror movie, that's ultimately why I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, which I'll get into in a second. But yeah, I feel bad for any kid under 13 that wanted to see this movie, or any kid under 17, excuse me, that wanted to see this movie and can't get into it for whatever reason. It doesn't make sense that it's given an R rating, because honestly, I think anyone can handle this. Even people who scare easily can handle this type of movie. But anyway, guys, getting into my rating for the film, I thought long about this, because I went into the movie, and the people I saw it with, my family I saw it with, they hated it. Not hated it, but they didn't care for it. They liked the ending, but they didn't really care for the movie. My audience actually got a few laughs from everyone who was in the movie. Not a lot of people went to see it, but yeah, so in the end, I'm going to give Oculus a 7.5 out of 10. Really not that memorable, or like I said, the first half kind of stood out to me, and I thought it was intriguing, the premise, and I was into it. I was I can't wait to see where they're going to go with this, how this is going to end. I actually like how they're going between the past and the present. They're using flashbacks. I like when movies do that for the most part. And then the second half happened, and things got really messy, things got really convoluted with the screenplay, and things just didn't pick up for me. Nothing got intense or anything like that, and that's ultimately what was really upsetting about this movie. And the main reason why I was upset with the movie in the end was because it was given a higher score on Rotten Tomatoes, and honestly, I don't know if it deserves as much praise as it got. That's something I really don't understand. But anyway, like I said, 7.5 out of 10. There are a few redeeming qualities. Like I said, the premise is actually very intriguing. You know, I was into the movie in the beginning, and I was, interested to see what was going to unfold. The events in the film, how they were going to unfold. I thought the movie was well directed. I thought the guy did a good job directing it. Had no problems there. There were a few nice shots in the movie. A few well set up scenes, in my opinion. The acting was fine, decent for this type of movie. Katie Sackhoff, great to see her in a movie. And apart from like I said, the beginning was, well structured, well put together, and it was intriguing. The premise was actually intriguing. The number one thing that I really loved about this movie was definitely the ending. Very shocking. The most, completely shocking scene in the whole movie definitely goes to the ending. I was completely shell-shocked when I saw it, even though it might have been predictable to a few. To me, I didn't see it coming, but I just liked how it ended because, yes, it does set this movie up for a sequel, and that's fine, but I really liked the ending because I really didn't see it coming. I was like, the second half of the movie was just very disappointing. I'm like, this movie's not going to end great. I predicted that they were going to destroy the mirror in the end, but something completely different happens from that, and I really liked that about this movie. So very good ending, in my opinion. Whoever wrote the screenplay, good job on the ending. However, getting into my complaints, whoever did write the screenplay, there were a few poorly written lines, in my opinion. Few in the beginning, few in the middle, spread out around the movie, basically. While the story was intriguing in the beginning, I honestly felt it started to lose me about halfway in, not halfway in, I'm sorry, but around the third act of the film. Just wasn't as exciting, I kind of fell out of the movie, I wasn't that attached to what was going on. I was like, I really don't care about what's going on. And then the great ending came on, and I was like, wow, that was awesome. Why couldn't the third act be better? Ultimately, guys, the whole third act is just bombarded with flashbacks and scenes from the present. Like, every other scene is a flashback, okay? And that is ultimately what got to me, and I think, my family and everyone else who was in the movie. Things got very confusing right around there because this movie is very psychological. It's not really a horror flick, in my opinion. It's more so a psychological thriller, even though it's not that intense. It's a very psychological film because with this thing with the mirror, you don't know what's real and what's not. So it's testing your what you know, your knowledge of what's going on and what's real or what's not. And that's when things got very convoluted for me, and that was mainly the fault of the editor, who was the director. The guy who directed the movie also edited the movie. And I thought the scenes were so poorly edited with the flashbacks and then the scenes from the present, and you just really lost what was going on. You forget about a certain scene, and then something else happens that's connected to that scene later on, if I'm making any sense right now. So things got very convoluted, messy, bloated, right around the third act of the movie. That's ultimately what upset me. And in the end, the scares. The fact that this movie is a horror movie, it's marketed as a horror movie. I've since seen the trailers. I went online. This movie its genre is a horror film, and it doesn't work as a horror movie because not only is it not scary, it's not even creepy. Are a few things that are done in the movie, are they twisted? Yes. Are there any creepy or really scary moments in the movie that affected me? No. Did I jump once? Yeah, I think one time, one jump scare. Other than that, nothing else was really scary or creepy in the movie. And that's why I think if they're going to make a sequel, that's where improvement needs to be made. They need to make them scarier, and the editing needs to be worked on a lot better. It needs to be fixed up a lot. But other than that, yeah, that's how I feel about Oculus. It was good until the third act, and then it kind of crashed and fell apart. And that was the upsetting part of the movie. And the fact that it just really wasn't scary, and a few lines of dialogue weren't that great. That's ultimately why I wasn't a huge fan of the movie. It doesn't succeed as a horror movie. It's more like a drama or even like a psychological thriller, even though it's not thrilling or intense. And that's why I wasn't a huge fan of Oculus. So there you have it, guys. 7.5 out of 10 for me. I went that high because I really did like the ending and the intriguing premise. But other than that, I'm not going to go higher. 7.5 out of 10 for me. If they do make a sequel, I would think about going to see it, but I hope that they would make a lot of improvements. So there you have it, guys. Those are my thoughts on Oculus. It's my review. Guys, if you did see the movie, let me know down below what you thought of it. Do you agree on my points about the movie or not? Let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching my review, and bye, guys.